All right, Vik has just confirmed he can't hear my giant air conditioning machine in the back because, mate, it is hot in London today. I think it's like 31, 32, but it's like 60% humidity.
It's cozy.
It's boiling. Welcome back, guys. A bit of housekeeping. I used the AI editing a little bit too hard on the last video, so it was a bit... but there's an unedited version that we uploaded, by the way, so you can check that out. It's pinned at the comment. Well, it's on the channel, but it's also pinned as a top comment, and I replied to some people. So, we fixed that up. We'll probably use that a lot less in the future.
Mm-hmm.
It's tempting to use it on a very long video. It is generally quite useful if you can do it through a curated manner on a short video, I've found. But
Dave,
that's a bit of content side of things.
Here's the problem. AI hasn't developed to be good enough for how good we are at speaking. It's overcompensating, getting intimidated, and it went in a little too hard on that one. But you know what? Let's we take your feedback on, and I hope you guys enjoy the unedited video.
For sure. And one exciting thing, something I've been working on a lot this week is I finally dropped the 11th edition coaching course. You can check it out here at 40kfireside.com. It's like even 20% off this weekend. It is like a 6-hour long course. There's a 1.5 hour segment of just Liam and I doing combat stuff in it as well. We have Innes Wilson there to talk through a bunch of the core game changes. I cover like list building, dispositions, detachments, the terrain changes, my thoughts about what the meta is going to look like ahead of time in the next in the next month for tournaments and stuff. So check it out. It's on 40k Fireside, and we've got tons of stuff coming through on Atlas as well. So
I will say on this one, I'm quite an experienced player. And moving in from 10th to 11th edition, I have actually felt a little intimidated by having to learn an entirely new rule set. So I think this kind of thing is going to be not only useful for newer players, like intermediate level players, but also for the experienced players. So massive props to you for putting this at a very affordable price point as well, Dave.
Yeah. It's kind of aimed as if you've played a game or two before. Like, it's not one of these courses that just goes through and tells you this rule change, this rule change, this rule change. It's more like, these rules have changed, by the way, and here's kind of how we think about implicating them. And, one interesting thing I thought was, between Innes, Liam, and I, we have about 100 games between us, and like we're still figuring stuff out. So Liam and I were still chatting about, is this maybe the best way to do combat? Which is interesting, I think. I think between around the end of the edition of 10th, stuff was quite solved in terms of how to do micro and how to do castling, etc. And we're not even remotely close to that. So it's plenty of good times to explore. I realize I can't change how to share the tab, so I'm going to click this. You'll probably get a big screen of us right now. Whoa. And I'll go back to the presentation.
I mean, speaking about just sharing and innovating new things, I think our Discord has been a little on fire recently, Dave. I don't know if you've seen the amount of lists and ideas that are being shared. I looked at the Eldar section, and there were about 10 different combinations of detachments with 10 different lists being discussed. So,
nice.
It's really popping off for 11th edition.
Yeah. I was thinking about putting together a 3-week tournament for the Discord. Actually, I think that might be cool. So
nice.
I might run a one on Vasa League for the singles. We usually do like a UK and US region one. So I think I might do that. Put it together for the boys and have fun with everyone. Because it's quite good. It's nice seeing everyone play the games.
Maybe start doing the group coaching again. I think that was quite a nice free little perk with the Discord as we move into 11th.
Let's start doing that again, and let's get some coaches paid as well. Because I actually quite enjoy that part of it too. Is like actually when I, because I chat with all the guys, especially all the people that work with Atlas, and I'm like, hey man, send across your payment, and they're always happy and stuff. So
nice.
Yes, let's bring the group coaching back. So we might start with one of the classics and move on after that. Yeah,
perfect.
Cool. What are we going to talk about today, man?
So, we were initially going to do a full faction tier list because everyone loves a tier list. But, sometimes you got to put the brake on and realize that there isn't quite enough information for us to do that justice, even if it was just a prediction. So instead, we're going to taper the information in, and we're going to start off by talking a little bit more in depth than a tier list would about our factions that we're particularly looking at, both going from 10th to 11th and looking at introducing into 11th. So this is going to be a little bit more higher level detailed information than us like randomly talk about custodies or something when we know nothing about it. Yep. We've each picked, I think, 3 of our factions, and at the end we'll pick up a few other interesting little tidbits here. Dave, what factions have you gone for?
I'm going to go for Guard, Necrons, and Space Marines in general, but I can cover a couple of those. And before I go on to you, I'm loving that artwork as I'm looking at it right now.
Did you notice it?
Yeah, that's really good. It's like a
Mate.
really good Guard one. And the Eldari one is awesome as well.
You see that 12-inch hidden rule right there?
Yeah. What are you covering, bro?
So I'm going to go for Eldar, of course, and Thousand Sons. Those are probably the two factions I'm most known for. But I've also kind of started introducing more Drukhari, which is one of the first armies I started playing. I'm quite interested in them in 11th. And I also want to touch on Sisters at the end, but only just touch on that. The other three are probably the main ones for this.
Cool. Awesome. So let's get right into it. Bam. As I failed to click the next slide. This is what happens when you don't use AI editing, guys. You get, me fucking up constantly.
Okay, Eldar. Okay, so it's me first. All right. My Eldar gang, my fellow Gigabrains, we, despite what adversity we face in our lives, despite what damage gets done to our points costs and our rules, somehow we find a way to still come across broken to our opponent, no matter what. And I want us to keep that in mind as we go into 11th edition, because in 10th edition at the end, we came out of it potentially looking a little fragile. Our win rate was poor. The army was, it was okay, but you had to really get it perfect to get anything out of it. Okay place for Eldar to be, but it was very hard, not accessible. So going into 11th, you might have expected, okay, maybe there'll be a few little buffs here and there to bring the army up a little bit. When I opened up my app after the update, I went through my armies and I was like, wow, Thousand Sons rules look really good. And my list was the exact same number of points. And I was like, okay, Eldar should be fine as well. Let's see how many more points I gain. I went up 100 points on most of my lists. So
100's quite a lot.
100's quite a lot, but that is deceptive, because I want to try and be positive with Eldar, because just even looking at our Discord and looking at the different ideas that are coming in, there is more for us to work with than what seems obvious. If we look at it at face value, you might see increases in some of the MSU aspect warrior units, the Swooping Hawks, Warp Spiders, Dark Reapers, even Rangers. These are things that you tend to see in most lists. So most of our previous lists are going to go up quite a big chunk of points because of that. But there are things we can pivot onto. Dave, I have found with my list building, I'm always trying to look for the 2 DP plus 1 DP detachments.
Okay, yeah.
And I think Eldar has quite a few different ones which can work here.
Yep.
The two which really caught my eye were Windrider Host at 2 DP and Seer Council at 2 DP.
Yep.
You can also get the Corsair one at 2 DP. And then on the 1 DP detachments, there are also multiple options here. There's quite a good Harlequin one.
Is that the Path of the Outcast?
The Path of the
Faithful
Outcast
Performance, probably, right? Yeah.
It's the Twilight Flickers, wherever that is.
Right, okay, sure. Yeah.
And then there's the Path of the Outcast is one which people really like, which is the Rangers and the Shroud Runners one.
Yeah.
And
I assume that's because it gives you reconnaissance as well. Because I imagine Taken All to be quite hard with Harlequins. And disruption in general is not amazing, so at least you've got a recon option, I guess.
Oh man, okay. I'm going to come back to the recon point, because I think it's a little awkward for Eldar personally. Sure. So, and you've also got Armored Warhost, which is actually okay. It was a meme before, but actually tacking it onto your list is not bad here.
Yep.
I'm going to kind of work my way through it and try and put it into a bit of structure. So if you are looking at getting Path of the Outcast into your list as the 1 DP detachment, you're going to be wanting to get that enhancement on the Shroud Runners, build into Shroud Runners, and then you can tack that on to your Seer Council so your long range firepower can activate better. And generally, Shroud Runners look like they were going to come in really strong. They have taken a hefty increase with the plus 15. That's actually a little painful, guys.
They give you ignore cover, right? When you shoot
They
a target?
do. They give you ignore cover, which is obviously excellent. And they also have a stratagem for in that detachment for increasing your detection range by 6, which is very handy. And they can make enemy units take battle shock within 18. So you're going to be spamming that. If you were to attach that to Seer Council, you're going to end up with a list that can trigger 2 battle shocks on 2 units per turn, because Seer Council will also have the same stratagem. And then if you go for Windrider Host, you're suddenly putting a huge amount of output and able to use the same buffs you would on the Windrider Host stuff on the Shroud Runners, because they're mounted units. So there is some play with that. So Windrider Host plus Path of Outcast, or Seer Council plus Path of Outcast. What I would say is the challenge of using Recon is that if you look at Swooping Hawks, they're now 100 points. Dark Reapers are 100 points. Warp Spiders are 115 points. Even our ranges are going up to 60 points here. You compare it to other armies that would, say, play Recon very well. Let's say Drukhari. For 150 points, Drukhari are getting 3 units compared to what you're getting here. I think Eldar are a touch expensive for Recon. And you may be better off kind of... What's Seer Council's one, Dave? It's
I think priority assets.
Either priority or disruption. I know disruption is not great, but maybe in teams you can hunt for purge a little bit. But priority assets is maybe a good reason to take Seer Council, in my opinion.
Nice.
I have one more point.
I was going to say, what about some of the decreases here?
Yes.
We've got Banshees down 10, which is, I mean, it must be nice, but you only usually played one squad of Banshees with Jane Zara, take it, right?
So this is where
Jane went down 15 as well. That's
dude,
nice.
it's a lot. All of the melee aspects, the Scorpions went down 10, Banshees 10, and Spears 5.
The Spears got a lot better as well.
Yeah, they're okay. The 2-inch engagement range is a little awkward because you used to
That's
kind
fair.
of base to base to get combat. Now it's kind of fiddly to get the third one in. But yeah,
definitely.
I agree with you. At the points cost they're actually a decent bargain. I would say that our aspect host lists, which had very heavy MSU on the Swooping Hawks and Warp Spiders, might taper down some of those points and get more of the melee aspects in. Because honestly, at 85 points, 5 Howling Banshees, even without a character, are better than you think, guys. I know it sounds like they're not even killing 5 Marines, but they're kind of coming close.
They kind of are killing 5 Marines, though.
Kind of. They're getting there. So...
I mean, for reference, 5 Marines don't kill 5 Marines, so...
True. So I think, Howling Banshees and Jane Zar, that is not an... I think it's like 190 points or something. That is not an expensive unit at all.
Yeah, it's a nice package, to be fair. It's cool that that's good as well, because it's a good unit, and it's nice that they have a fast combat option.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the aspect host lists that are playing Disruption are going to kind of take more of these melee infantry units. I don't see the melee aspect warriors coming into the other detachments. You kind of run out of points before you get there. But there are key omissions here, Dave, that haven't gone up in points that are worth talking about here. I think Windrider host, none of their stuff has gone up. The Windriders themselves are not more expensive, even if the Shroud Runners are. Windriders are relatively strong here, going in without having to lose their AP1 to cover. They have full reroll, so they get around the cover -1 to hit quite nicely. And you also don't have an increase in Fire Prisms and Warwalkers, which are probably your best anti-tank options here.
Yep. I played against a 3 Fire Prism Windrider host style list about a week ago, maybe. And that list has a lot of damage, but it does die. So there's pros and cons. But also, I think one of the big buffs is that screening is a lot harder as well. So it's a lot easier in the games you'll play. Obviously, you'll find that getting into your opponent's backfield is very, very simple now. So that's definitely a big buff for Windrider host in that sense.
And our Guardian Defenders went down, I'm pretty sure. So actually the Guardian bricks are a little cheaper or about the same points. They haven't gone up is the key thing. Except for Eldar going up 10, which is really rude, by the way, guys. There's no need for that. That's really rude. That and also the second Wraith Knight going up in points is wild. Someone has made a conscious decision to do that, which is mad.
Well, the Baneblade, the second Baneblade also got staggered points, so, the Windriders didn't get framed. That's interesting. They stayed at mounted. Okay. Screamers got frame keyword randomly, so... odd omission there. I was wondering if they did that with other bases as well. In a similar... Because Screamer and a Windrider is kind of a similar base to length ratio, I think, in some ways. But anyway, there's a bit of a tangent.
Bro, a Screamer is not mounted on anything. A Windrider is literally on a jet bike.
Yeah. No. But a Screamer got the frame keyword, which is what tanks have. So you draw it from every part of it. So I thought maybe the Windriders would get the frame keyword. But yeah, anyway.
So good.
So what? So I guess, what's the spice with Seer Council though? And what about Guardian Battle Host? Because I know that was kind of a sub build here as well, right?
Okay, I kind of rate Seer Council a little bit more. I think they get a bunch of free stratagems.
This is the teleport one?
They do have a teleport, which is still not worded correctly. So it's it's meant to be an 8-inch teleport within 9 inches of a Psyker. But they've written it as a 9-inch teleport within 8 inches of a Psyker, Dave. So...
Got him.
So at the moment, Fuegan and the Fire Dragons can't get into Melter range. But maybe they will soon. You never know.
It's kind of funny.
That is kind of funny. So yeah, they've got the little teleport to move around and stuff, but they just have a good suite of stratagems. They have a reactive grenade stratagem. They have a flat -1 to hit in melee, unfortunately, not in shooting. And the battle shock stratagem. They're just a really handy army with a good set of rules overall. And I think you can just play the game. Now, saying that, are we looking at, you want to do well as an Eldar player, or you want to win tournaments as an Eldar player? Because if you want to win tournaments as an Eldar player, I think this is not good. We're in a bit of a difficult spot here if we really want to compete to consistently win a whole series of games. But you can have
also there's a couple of other armies in the meta that have been buffed, which line up quite well against Eldar as well, which is a bit unfortunate here.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, you're gonna get your pairing, see you're against Eldar, and if you are like a decently experienced competitive player, you're gonna be like, phew, that could have been worse. Because this is one of the weaker balance sections for Eldar, I think, that I've seen. Oftentimes we can be very much on the extreme end of being too good. But this one is one of our dull phases where we're a little bit down. And I actually would not be surprised if our win rate goes down from 10th here before getting a few little buffs on the next balance update. But there's enough to work with here that I think you can make a viable build and try and compete at events and certainly give your opponent a headache, because we still have tricks for days here.
I think Eldar really suffer from the change of primary and secondary style, and particularly the terrain layouts now. Because in 10th edition, they had the classic macro strategy of, hold my expansion, deny your one, you've got a Catan on there, chuck 5 dudes on with ignore Overwatch and whatever, right? And that's no longer a game plan anymore. So I think in general, armies that tried to deny your opponent's primary in 10th edition often have fared worse coming into 11th edition. I think that was a key game plan for anyone that wasn't Liam VSL playing Eldar.
I will say this. I think there has been a false notion that Eldar is always a good mission playing army. There was a period of time where we had extreme MSU in those Yannari variants, where I would agree you could get a lot of units in, but those times have long gone. Eldar's unit count has dropped down progressively over time, and a lot of things are fast enough to play missions that I think Eldar are overcosted for the speed that they are presumed to have. And you can see that with the increase. I don't actually think Warp Spiders need to be 115. It's actually quite high.
The change to Overwatch is a bit worse than as well, because you can't immediately Overwatch the target that moves. You can't zip to a point, flame something, and immediately Overwatch a unit that moves after that. Because they can play around that to some degree.
Yeah, there's that, along with just generally kind of they don't do impressive. What you need them to do to win the game kind of thing.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think, they don't seem to suffer as much as the -1 to ballistic skill, I think, in some ways, but yeah, I think the fact that, for example, like Knights would previously be an army, like you see Knights across the table, right? That would be an army where you could go, oh, I'm just going to move block this guy a bunch, I'm going to find out where he can't move, for example, make sure he can never get on my expansion, I might get tabled, but I'll always win by like 10 or 15 points, whatever, right? Because they typically would have bad secondary and primary game plan, but those armies have had a huge uplift in my experience. Be quite hard.
Agreed. That's really Eldar, Dave. I mean, I would love to see what everyone comes up with, especially when we get tournaments running again. But I would say out of my 3 armies, Eldar is probably the one I'm least excited about going to an event with.
Sure.
Here, but I actually think the list is fun with Eldar.
Nice. I actually think, I'm probably in a very similar spot to you with my main army as well, so we'll see when I get to that. I know what it feels like in terms of like you're not excited about your main army. Let us know down in the comments below if you're going through the same thing too, right? Like you're not as excited about your main army that previously maybe was good, because the edition has changed so much. You're not alone.
My final take on this update, I think it was harsh. I think it was fairly rude and harsh, and has been done to be on the safe side of things here, which I think will allow us to have a better balance update next time. But I also kind of worry that, Eldar could continue to get nerfed. I can actually see that happening one more time from here somehow. Yeah, especially if I listen to what, some of the other people who are on the balance team talk about in the content creation space. I mean, I don't know if you saw a video, Baharoth is busted. It just came up. I'm sure the comments will know about that. Baharoth is busted because 315 points does 5 mortal wounds, Oh.
Yeah, I've never seen it on the table, mate. So, yeah. And Liam's never played it or talked about it, so that's my barometer most of the time.
So let's see how it goes. At some point, our time will come. I just hope it isn't broken and it's just strong. Let's see.
Baharoth is busted. The only thing busted about that is the logic on how you get to that conclusion. Okay, I don't know who said that, so I'm sorry if I just flamed on my friends. Okay, let's go on. That's Eldar. What am I talking about next? Oh, I've got Guard. Okay. Beautiful. Man. Oh, Guard went up quite a bit, mate. This is really interesting. So when, I think in the last podcast I mentioned that I won't be playing Guard for WTC, and I'm being completely transparent, because I'm not. I think that Guard suffered a lot from the 11th edition mission style and secondary style, right? Guard was the most excellent army at OC control, jumping on their expansion, holding your own expansion. Like, you played the points every single game. Like, I just played the UK Games Expo Open, where I played against Pac-Pound, Zealot, Defilers, 5 games total. And every single game, I was just trying to go, oh, here's my tech piece for jumping on your expansion, chucking a grenade, remote mine, then I use a CP for +1 OC, and then I move block you over here. I sacrifice these units to Aquilon 6-inch deep strikes, you can't get to my expansion on the turn. This guy's overwatching me, tabling me every single turn, and somehow against, I pull out a 4-point win or whatever. And honestly, Guard really felt like that towards the end. I actually played Guard in the Vaisla League finals, for a team tournament right at the end, and I was playing Grizzled Company, and I had no Rogal Dawns. And I played no Rogal Dawns at the UK Games Expo, and I only played Rogal Dawns when I was playing Hammer of the Emperor and just having a good, tread head time. So that's kind of the context where I think Guard was, and now all of a sudden, that game plan is just, pretty much irrelevant in 11th edition, sorry. God, I'm still doing that. The game plan of, I'm going to block my expansion, you can't get to it, I'm going to move block you here, shoot you a little bit, grenade you, chip you off, here's my good OC. That game plan just doesn't exist anymore. The rulebook has been completely rewritten. I mean, literally. But, so, I think Guard suffered a lot from that change in the game, right? Particularly from a singles perspective, right? Obviously it impacts teams as well, but my results in WTC testing were not amazing, right? Felt like I was winning these games, and it would be 11-9, or I'd be winning, I'd have board control all the time, it'd be 10-10. I'm okay, great. Because the Mitrins being asymmetric means that oftentimes your opponent can score points without interacting with you to a certain degree, but not interacting. They can score points that subvert your ability to stop them sometimes, right? You need to jump on something, they need to kill you off it, right? I mean, there's no two ways about it if that's the way you're going to go. So I don't think Guard they're not a faction I'm championing for WTC, for example. I think they're B tier, they're a mid-tier army, I think, genuinely, for 11th edition. One reason on top of that, the -1 ballistic skill is backbreaking for Guard. If you've ever shot a tank commander with no rerolls that just hits on 4s, that's ordered, by the way, hits on 4s with d6 plus 3 shots, you could get anywhere from fuck all to I killed the Silent King. Well, you can't get up to I killed something, but most of the time it lands on that bottom 30% somehow as well. And so I think the -1 ballistic skill was a massive nerf to Guard, because they only have ignore cover and one detachment that's any good, and it's Grizzled Company, the previously best detachment. And you can play a 125-point Hellhound that gives you ignore cover at 18-inch range. So I mean, not amazing, given that it's also a vehicle that you'll have to order to get range. So that's kind of similar to the Shroud Runners, for example. Like, that's a good example. Like, I would rather play Shroud Runners in Guard than a Hellhound just to get ignore cover. Obviously, you're kind of comparing apples and oranges there. So,
definitely Shroud Runners are better.
Yeah, they do struggle to get that ignore cover, which is really critical. Then there's another nerf here, which is that you can't order before you do your battle shocks. Because you do your battle shocks first. That means that you can't give +1 leadership to your unit. So, Lord forbid, you're battle shocked, you just can't take an order. You're hitting on 5s, which means you do no damage. So, they got nerfed across a couple of axes. I do think there are some good builds in Hammer of the Emperor. Those builds are strong. I think there are probably good builds in Grizzled Company as well. Like, that's probably the 2 most successful ones I would take to and look at. But let's go through some of the points.
Sure.
Because the points here are quite harsh as well. My list actually went up quite a lot here. So,
I see it.
The UK Games Expo. So, let's look at, for example, okay, 10 dudes for Guard. 2 years ago used to be 55 points. Okay, this is like, the inflation index. 55 points for 10 dudes, a little bit undercosted. They went to 65. Okay, that's fine. I would have, had them at 60 maybe, and then go to 65. Now there's 75 points. Like, 75 points for 10 dudes that no longer can string out, do, like no damage. It's just kind of baffling. I don't think anyone knows where this change comes from. Just like, the unit that had already gotten nerfed is just getting further nerfed when it's nerfed in coherency, it's nerfed in ordering, it's nerfed in the style of mission now.
Correct.
So, I mean, that went up 10 points, I guess. And the 20 blocks went up 20 points. Okay, so my list at UK Games Expo has already gone up 25, 40, 55, and then I think a couple of other pieces ended up being at like 75 points. Oh, and then I have Graves also going up. So Gaskin went up 5 points for 10, which is really harsh because they really suffer from the -1 Blister skill, because that was already a unit you were constantly trading down. And no longer can you do like I'm going to move block you a lot, whilst also doing my 3 things I'm trying to achieve. And that's really what you needed to do for that unit. Like, move blocking was a core component to it, so you can no longer do those. Engineers also went up 5 points. Sorry, my camera's in the way. Engineers went up 5 points, which, again, it's already a 65-point unit, and it's just going up. You would always play 3 of them, because they're like their go-to. It's kind of funny, because if you have a 5-man, it strings the exact same distance as a 10-man. So you just play a 5-man, obviously, right? And then Graves went up 15. Like, okay, I know that I said that she was like, I was happy when she was 110 points, but I mean, apart from giving my transports +3 to move, +3 to disembark, she wasn't doing much else in my games. So I think I was like the only one that played a couple of tournaments before the end of 10th edition too. So
it was a bit rude.
I mean, like, I don't know, man. Oh, and then the Scions went out. I didn't even take it into account. And then I was playing 35 Scions. So if you take my list exactly of what I was playing, this seems to happen coincidentally quite often, actually, given that there wasn't a lot of people playing, and my playstyle in particular was a bit odd. Scions went up 5. I think the command skill went up 5 as well. So that's like 10 points, and then the 15-man went up 15. So that's like 35. I think my list went up close to like 80 to 90 points. And, it just, it didn't really seem to make a lot of sense.
Dave, I think we're unlucky here, mate. Because, these are our 2 main factions, right? And I actually think in the entire game, these are the 2 which have been treated the worst.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think
Preach
so.
to the choir.
I think maybe CSM is up there as well, but I think these 2.
I mean, CSM was like the greatest offender of all time. So, I mean, like,
agreed.
That was horrific playing against that stuff. I'm not gonna lie. It was genuinely. I was about to drop from the tournament after losing to that. But yeah, carry on.
Eldar and Guard. I mean, there was a Reddit thread like which armies got off worst in 11th edition, and if you ever see an army like Eldar put on a comment like that, it's bad. So. There were a lot of Eldar and Guard mentioned in that. So we've definitely got on the worst end of this because we've taken points increases when some stronger armies have taken points decreases. I wanted to touch on one point here, Dave, because I think there's a lot of symmetry between armies. Sometimes I see Eldar and Sisters and I see an Imperium Xenos symmetry between them in terms of the tricks they do, especially when they had similar dice mechanics. I see a similarity between Guard and Tau. Tau is kind of Xenos' Imperial Guard, mainly shooting focused, no really melee components. Guard had a bit more, and they had more mission play. Tau had more kind of speedy output. I think that something has happened here where Tau have both got a huge amount of ignore modifiers, so their output is retained, on top of being let off very lightly on points compared to Guard.
Or buffed, depending on which way you look at it. Or buffed significantly, yeah.
Agreed.
It is interesting because I think a good comparison, like this is the last tournament of 10th edition, right? And this balance patch should be based off 10th edition performance, because that still does show how strong an army is, despite the rule set being different, right? Like you don't have a lot to go off. Obviously, you got what the playtesters have been playing, but I think Brian's list that I played in the Warhammer stream, I played on stream against Brian. I won that one, but only because we both played an imperfect game and I had some indirect there, which was just clutch on Persiafoe. But his Tau army was genuinely a lot stronger than Guard. Like Tau was a top army towards the end of the edition there. And our list, I think my list might have gone up more than his, for example. And the units that went down are completely unplayable. So a bunch of stuff went down in Guard. So indirect, got 10 points here, 20 points there. But indirect is completely unplayable at the moment. I actually think the indirect change was not a good change.
No, I'm so happy, man.
Yeah, sure, but indirect is... I don't think anything should be in the game where it's just functionally unplayable. Indirect is functionally unplayable right now.
I disagree with you.
I genuinely think it's really bad.
I'm going to disagree with you because the game got better when Flyers died. The game got better when indirect fires started getting removed from the game. And any moment a little bit of indirect creeped its head back into the game, even in a heavily nerfed state, it was bad. This is the first time I feel we will have an entire edition of bad indirect fire. And I think it might be good.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking about the here and now. I think at the end of 10th edition, indirect fire was actually in a really good spot. Apart from maybe you could argue Desolation Marines, but they just needed to be put up a bit more in price. I in my end of the edition list, I had a field ordnance battery, a one-off, and then I had Aquilon. So I was all these PBZ lists, they have only 10 cultists to screen their backfield. So if I can use my fob to open up a pocket, then I can 6-inch deep strike flame. I can pressure their backfield as a utility piece. I wasn't dealing damage. Most of the time they didn't even kill more than their points worth, right? And that's not good for an asset that sits back there. So
agreed. Fine. I think it's extreme.
At the end it was okay, but I think people should be able to turn it with their cool models regardless, and for them to be remotely playable, but they're just really awful right now.
Now, I wanted to make a point about Tau and Guard while I'm still here, Dave, because the asymmetry is quite striking to me. And one part of that is I can see the line of logic that the hidden rule is likely to make Tau players have to come in closer to do their damage. Therefore, maybe they should get some buffs, some points, at least the points stay similar or kind of not too high. Why is there an asymmetry with the way Guard has been treated? Is the bit that I can't wrap my head around.
Yeah. Well, I think Games Workshop just simply haven't appreciated the impact of the mission and the move blocking element, right? You watch any single high-level game of a Guard player, move blocking is the first thing they think about. Because and that's not because that's the only way you can play, but that's because that's the only way you can play at a high-end competitive level with the army, right? I took 10 tanks to Belgium, right? And there's just massive downsides to only playing 10 tanks, right? You need to be able to do stuff like that. So they didn't account for the fact that that's massively punishing. How did this army's playstyle change because of how we nerfed stuff, right? Well, now I think they're just reaping the benefit, reaping what they sow. So, some other stuff went down, Lord Marshal Dreer went down 25 points. Still awful. The Krieg Heavy Weapon team went down 15, but only went down -5 for the Flamers, I want to say off the top of my head. Maybe -10. The Flamers are legitimately good, so try them out. The Centaur RSV went down 10, but as most people came to the same conclusion as myself, it was better just to play a Chimera in most circumstances there. So largely irrelevant units going down, and core units going up. You cannot get around some of these points changes, unfortunately. So, and then there's a bunch of stuff that I didn't mention as well, is the Rogel Dawn, the second one also went up. A bunch of staggered points went up on a couple of other things, which is disappointing. So
Okay, so it really
Mixed
adds
bag,
up.
really. I think they missed the mark on this one. Personally.
I personally think both Tau and Guard should have come out of this at the even level, like roughly 0, where some units went up, some units went down in their core lists. But in this case, I think Tau gained points and Guard lost a chunk.
Yeah.
Tau
gained. Yeah, Tau gained an alternative build, which is really powerful. So yeah, I can see some changes. I think are justifiable. I think engineers, I can see them going up because they still do what they do in the new edition. I think the Lehman Russ battle tank should have gone up. That rerolls to hit against objectives. That's quite, important. How much can you pay for, 10 scions, like 5 scions and a command squad?
Yep.
Well, I mean, 160 points was 10 dudes before, roughly, right? So, I mean, it's kind of expensive. And they're all -1 to hit now. So...
I really feel you. The core squads, the 10-man squads, Kazakin, Scions, feels very much like Aspect Warriors do for Eldar.
Yeah, exactly right.
Where this is the 3rd or 4th nerf for some of the Aspect Warriors in terms of points. And they're feeling it now. It's gotten very expensive.
So, looking at the disposition, sorry.
Let's do
I'm
it.
not trying to get down on Guard too much, but I've kind of jumped off ship for a while. Sure. We have Grizzled Company, which I suspect Grizzled Company might end up being the best because of the points changes here. The on-demand ignore cover is really, really big. So I think Grizzled is still maybe the best build, but I think Hammer of the Emperor is the second, if not maybe the first equal best build, along with the Designation Force. I like Designation Force personally and not playing Scions and Hammer, because that's one of the ones that gives you a reactive move, which is quite good actually. I don't know why they printed that on Guard. But it gives you the spotting rule, like the plus range, and they actually have a really cool stratagem where if you're a smoke unit within 6 inches of their unit, you can shoot up a flare and you get an additional +3 for +8 in total, which is kind of nice actually, or +6 in total I think. So I like those combinations. I do think there's something with Steel Hammer with the Titanic, oddly enough, right? I don't know if that's an increase in Titanic power or just a decrease in the overall ceiling, the roof. So it's got play. I'm just not excited about playing it because I have these turns where my opponent has they're crashed into me and I have my whole army to activate and I kill 50% of what I used to kill and I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm just tagged everywhere now.
Rough.
What about the next one?
Okay.
That was a good rant. I appreciate that.
Love it.
Where are we at?
Should be some of my Dusty boys. Oh, yes.
Nice.
Okay, Dave. Now, this is one I'm very excited about, personally. I think there are a few different routes, so I want to touch on the detachments first. Grand Coven did end up coming out as 3 DP, very reasonable. It was kind of put down as being 2 DP flat. They said it's 2 DP in the Warhammer community article. It is 3 DP.
Odd though.
I would say that Grand Coven is still a very strong build you can build around Magnus into, and it's just very good in terms of output. And I think it plays the map quite well. So Grand Coven players, I think it's worth continuing to experiment with it. But like I mentioned with the Eldar section, I'm quite interested in the 2 DP plus 1 DP detachments. And I was very happy to see Hexwarp Thrallbrand stay as a 2 DP detachment here.
Yep.
I genuinely thought it was already quite a good detachment with a flat +1 to wound if you're controlling a certain section of the board and your psychers are in there. But on top of that, one of the units which I didn't see many people taking, which I was very keen to take multiples of, was the Exalted Sorcerer on Disc, who has gone down 10 points.
Ooh, nice.
I have no idea why they've done that, because I think genuinely he was quite good at 100 points, but at 90 points he's fairly ridiculous in my opinion.
Nice.
So
this is the D6 Flamer guy with the D3 damage, right?
Correct. He gives -2 to advance charge. He's a flying guy who's still infantry.
Remember that guy.
So yeah, he's really handy. And in terms of the 1 DP detachments, there are 2 really good options here. Ritual of Regeneration gives you Purge the Foe, which I think is phenomenal for T-Sons. Cool. So nice. The Hexwolf plus Ritual play is really easy. You get these nice big bricks of units that do high output, play Purge the Foe really, really nicely. They're very hard to displace and they do damage. The other option is to go for the Sekitar cohort. The robots did not go up in points, which they really should have, in my opinion. if they were going to introduce a detachment like this into the game. They were already pretty good at 2 for 80, but now to get flat psychic weapons, which ignore modifiers, which is great for their missiles, or melter if you take it, and then also getting +1 to wound when combined with Hexwarp Throwbrand is pretty wild on their flamers. They're a very powerful unit at 160 for 4. Now,
yeah, 160 for 4 is pretty good, right? Because they have 4 wounds apiece, right?
Yeah, 4 wounds apiece. They have a
10 points per
stratagem. They have 3 really good stratagems in that detachment, Dave. So one is they can shoot and still do an action.
Yep,
They can sticky an objective. It's worth noting for T-Suns players here. It's end of movement phase, so you can jump on the objective, sticky it, and Temporal Surge back off the objective, which is really nice. And the final one is a flat -1 to wound if strength is higher than toughness.
Nice.
You then have an enhancement to heal D3 plus 1 wounds back onto the Secretary robot, so you can bring models back with the new way that works.
I like the enhancement one where you can resurrect them is really good, because oftentimes they're a little bit hard to commit into, and then you kind of undervalue them and you think, oh, they've just got 1 robot left, and then they zip a psycho over there, then they resurrect 1, and it's like, oh, now there's 2 melters in your face.
Right. I do think that their actual ability is very relevant in 11th edition to get a -1 CP cost to Heroic Intervention or Fire Overwatch. It means you don't stretch your CP too much, and you always have CP to do other things with these guys firing Overwatch or heroically intervening every turn.
It's worth mentioning, if you're not familiar with this unit, they infiltrate as well. So
correct.
They're usually in a good position from the early game onwards.
Now, they infiltrate with stealth. Maybe they don't have stealth. I need to check that.
Everything has stealth. It's 11th edition. They do have stealth anyway. Yeah,
they do have stealth. So they can be kind of out in the open doing things as well. And it's worth noting that the Forge Fiend only went up 5 points. Now, the Forge Fiend, in an army which loves to kill everything, sometimes it can't actually kill everything. So let's say, Dave, you have your beautiful army laid out in front of me, your guard army, and I've killed a bunch of it, but this Rogel Dawn, it has way too many wounds. I'm going to ping 1 Forge Fiend into that thing, and it's going to be -2 to hit for the whole of next turn.
No! My worst enemy. Genuinely a really good ability nowadays, by the way.
Really good ability on a go turn, and just flat, the Hades autocannon things that they have are 6 shots each, so they have 12 shots at 822. At 135 points, they are a steal. They are so good.
Bro, you know that a Rogel Dawn is like 10 less points than a Defiler? Like, a Defiler is 10 more points than a Rogel Dawn. Like, those 2 units do not shoot the same. Like,
I mean, speaking about Defilers, the points increase is plus 40. So we're assuming you're taking the extra guns. So you're taking them up from 290 to 310. So it's 310, then 350 for the next 2. Which is still a very fair cost, really, at 310.
310 is still good, man. Like, I think, in our testing, a lot of people are playing 1 Defiler. It's a really good backbone. Like, just having 1 stops your opponent from, like, disrespecting you for long range.
So, I mean, I'm going to be doing lots more content on T-Suns, so I will go into it more in detail, but there is an opportunity cost that you take by taking the increased cost on Defilers and Magnus here, where if you compared it to something like Forge Fiends, you could take 3 Forge Fiends for the cost of a Defiler almost, kind of, you're getting close to that. And Magnus is more than 3 Forge Fiends here. So you're sacrificing a lot of units to get 1 big centerpiece, and you've got to add up in T-Suns because you have reroll to hit, increased AP, so you can make even 1 random vehicle actually just do loads of damage if you combo stuff into it. Do you really need the big centerpiece, or do you get more of those 1 random piece that you can do combos on? Question marks. So the other big one is that actually the points increases were very kind on things like the Scarab Occult Hermes and the Winged Demon Prince, which were, some really good units. The Winged Demon Prince, I think, is slightly overrated personally. In Hexwarp Throwband is great, flat +1 to wound. It's got a built-in 6-inch deep strike. The weapons are a little lethargic and not that powerful, but it's just a useful tool.
Yep. Nice. I think they play priority assets quite well, actually, as well. So you got quite a few different play styles here. If you maybe not take and hold, but priority assets, and then Purge the Foe if you want to play it as well.
Yeah.
So I think both of those are really playable for this army. I think T-Suns come out a winner from the new edition. That's for sure. Relative to their strength previously. Okay, to caveat, 3 Defilers, T-Suns at 250 points was stronger than this, but that was obviously never going to last. But I think relative to where all the armies shifted, I think T-Suns were definitely a winner overall. And their build's quite a lot different, which is cool.
I think this is just strong, really.
Yeah.
What I would say is, if you compare things, the extremes look like extremes here. So, for example, Eldar, I don't think they're completely dead. I also don't think things like Thousand Suns and Tau are completely broken. I think it's just unfair the way that the balance kind of ended up here. So I'll be very interested to see how Thousand Suns and Tau do. But coming into the edition, you're going to be looking at those as armies which look like they've got good builds, which have not taken unfavorable points here.
With a couple of Forge Fiends too. Sorry to jump in. With a couple of Forge Fiends, you could almost suppress your opponent's entire army.
Dude, yeah, I mean, my Forge Fiends are ready to go. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Forge Fiend. I know lots of people still want to run a Defiler, but,
Let's say you're playing against Knights or something, and you're just like, yeah, I might not kill the Knights, but, like, you're -2 to hit now.
Yeah, really, really easy to trigger that into the opponent.
Yeah, it's a good damage buff there.
The
damage debuff.
You have a stratagem to put something into cover. So, these Scarab Occult Terminators can just jump in, do a 6-inch deep strike, which this detachment has for Terminators. Nice. And then you can, suppress something. They can have stealth for 1 CP. You can make them really, really hard to deal with.
That's cool. Yeah. I quite like the Hexbane combo. From what I've seen as well, that seems to be the main direction that people have been exploring. I haven't really seen anything in Rubrikai Phalanx or Grand Coven myself personally, but I'm sure Grand Coven is still good and playable. And Warpforged Cabal is the vehicle one, right?
Yeah, so I don't do that.
Maybe that might have some play with Purge the Foe, but I think most people have been going for the Hex Warp Thrallbane. But it's cool to see they've got 1 DPs that are good. Because that's when definitely. The 2 DP really shines, is when the 1 DP is good.
Yeah, I mean, nice. Hexwarp probably should have been 3 DP, if I'm going to be honest. And I think Rubrique Phalanx probably should have been 2 DP. But
just because of the way it combos with the other 1 DPs, right? It's not necessarily whether it's a 2 DP or 1 DP in and of itself, but if it synergizes with the 1 DP well, that's the next level of thinking they have to incorporate, right?
So I would say, there could have been more limitations using the keywords to stop you combining Rubrique with Ritual and Hexwarp with Sekitar. They probably should have stopped those 2 combining together and kept everything at 2 and 1 DP respectively.
Yeah. A lot of people right now are saying, shh, don't say that. Nice, so T-Sun's looking in a good spot. Are you excited to play them, Vik? Because it's been a while for you, I feel like, right?
100%.
A couple of WTCs ago now, right?
Yeah, because it's the last WTC I played was when I was playing T-Suns, and then I haven't taken them to any singles tournaments because I went on a big run with Eldar. Yep. But yeah, now is the time. I think this is the perfect kind of meta. I would bring T-Suns out, but you'll see when we come on to my 3rd army that it's a very close call between the 2.
Nice. What have we got next? Space Marines. Oh, man. I'm going to move my camera here really quick.
Sure.
Not a lot happening in this one, to be honest with you. Well, yeah, some here, So one thing that they've done, and this is a major change that they've done, which is really good, is they've made different points values for each different chapter. So, for example, JPIs and Blood Angels, I think it's just a go-to example, are more expensive than they are in, like Templars, for example. I think they're like 10 more points or 5 or something. So we're actually getting to a position where they're treating each Space Marine chapter different in and of itself. Now, I think that's good, and I think that's nothing but a positive change, but I wouldn't tell people to expect your army to be getting nuanced changes on every Space Marine unit, because they're now doing it chapter by chapter. I don't even think they remotely have the throughput to balance to that degree of granularity. I think the only reason you're gonna see this change impact is when there are clearly some units spammed in some armies, right? Like Blade Guard Vets and Blood Angels, or JPIs and Blood Angels. I mean, I'm trying to think of another unit that gets spammed in another chapter, but Repexes on Ultramarines or something like that, right? So that's an interesting change that they made. It's a lot more work, but I don't think ultimately it's going to shift the boat on making a lot of nuanced changes across all the sub-factions, sorry. They did do another interesting thing, is that they made the DPs, the dispositions, different per some factions. So disappointingly, I mean, yeah, this is a massive disappointment. That, tune out if you want to miss a Black Templars rant, but
let's do it.
They made fucking Bastion Detachment 3 DP for Black Templars, the only place it was fucking played, and then they made Stormlance 2 DP for Black Templars, whereas for Marines, Stormlance is 3, for everyone else, Bastion is too. And it's just like, man, what? Why can't we just have our fun, man? Like, let me just take Bastion and the Living Miracle. The Living Miracle detachment's not even good. None of the 1D piece of Black Templars are good. They're shit. But I just want to play my cool Emperor's Champion. And you have to pay for the enhancement too. So you play a detachment that gives you one detachment rule for one model that gives it one more ability, because it previously already had the other two. And then you have to pay 15 points for an enhancement to get the next benefit. Like, bro, just make it free. Like, so it's kind of funny. I genuinely don't think they know how to balance that faction, but it is still very near to dear to my heart. In fact, I'm going to Bad Moon Cafe tomorrow, and I'm probably just going to be playing them in real life because I just like playing them. So, Marines, yeah. Liberian Tigerius went up 20 points. He was the psyker that no one played beforehand, but they were just like, I mean, some people played him. He was okay beforehand, but like, no one was really like playing him a lot. Like, you were kind of taking him as like, hey, you look cool. I got this like side piece that I'm working with here. And then your opponent's like, yeah, it's not optimal, man, but that guy's cool. And you're like, yeah, man, gotta roll some shots. Rolled 3 shots. Fuck. Okay. I mean, he went up 20 points. It's a shame because I probably would have played him in the new edition, actually.
Damn.
5-man infiltrators went up 10. I have no idea why that is true, because the meta is still that you don't want to play infiltrators because, yeah, okay, Deep Strike went down to 8, but like, just the meta that's evolved in playing games very quickly is that you just don't play infiltrators because they don't do anything. So it's like, okay, you can block Deep Strike bigger, but you would rather, that's 110 points to the unit now. You'd rather just take 5 scouts and 1 Imperial agent, and you would have the same amount of points. You'd cover more distance. So, a bit of a strange one on that one. And curses went up 5. I think this is actually a good change. And curses are really good. They give you +1 to hit now, which is like super relevant. So I was playing like 2 to 3 squads, so fair change. Repex went up 10 points. Completely fair change. I mean, Repex has been like a staple for the last like 3 to 4 months, especially when Vitrix Honor Guard were around. And people are playing 1 or 2 in every single list, so going up 10, I can see that. We have, like, there's a bunch of decreases across a lot of different things, so I just went with some that I thought were important. Scouts down 5 is really good, because Scouts are still really good in 11th edition. I'm a big fan of them. Brutalis went down 10. Okay, I can get behind it. It's not great, so that's good. Blade Guard Vets went down 10 for the 6-man. Okay, I think that's a good change. They were not great beforehand. You could play Marnius with Blade Guard Vets now if you want a cheaper option. It's kind of interesting. Aggressors went down 5 for the 3, 10 for the 6. I don't think you're playing them anytime soon, but, okay, it's good. I think those are quite cool models too, so it's nice to see them come down. A model that I was previously playing 2 of went down 20. Have you ever, you talked about that with Eldari, right? Or, T-Sons with the Forge Fiend. It's funny when the models that you think are the better in your army, like, come down in points, and you're like, oh, that's...
Agreed.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
So the Land Raider or Demon went down 20. I genuinely think it's, like, just, you should play them. At 250 points, like, it's hard to kill. The Flamers are really good, especially in a world where everyone's -1 to hit. Overwatch is harder to get, good quality Overwatch. So, yeah, good. I mean, you played them with GK, did you play them?
Dude, I played them with GK, and I just put them on eBay to sell them. And now I'm understanding why they sold like within minutes. Like all 3 of them just disappeared.
Yeah, no, I bought them, mate. No, they're good. You know what's? It's funny because it's the type of unit when I look at, I'm like, this is bad. But when I put it on the table and I shoot it, I'm like, this is good. This is good. So it's kind of a funny one. Stern Guard went down 10 for the 10-man. Okay, it's nice. I mean, I played them in a Taught Super Major, came second, undefeated. I thought they were kind of mid, so down 10. The Terminators went down, like, side-graded. I think the ones with the non-Storm Shield ultimately ended up going down. The ones with the Storm Shield are just as is. And then Vulcan and Adrex Agatone went down 10 and 5 points respectively.
Okay.
A little bit of a head-scratcher because Salamanders I thought were already good. Like,
let's go.
Vulcan just gives you OC 10 on an objective, which, if you played this edition, you can imagine is quite good. So... they're both cool. So, they didn't get played a lot during the last edition, so I'm happy to see them go down. Nice. And I guess in terms of, the dispositions, I think Fulgur's Task Force has been a good standout. The land speed is 95 points, by the way, which is good. That is quite a good data sheet. Yeah, very good. It's a perfect target for just zipping and nuking something with Oath if you can't shoot anything else on turn 1. Like, if your opponent's kind of playing cagey, you can always zip your land speeder. They got a Rhino, take some pot shots at it, probably kill it, tow off the terrain with your Fire and Fade. Really good unit. I've been really impressed by them. I'm running 2, maybe 3, but 2's just really good. Move 14, you find, like, if you use the go to the skies, you can oftentimes hit a staging ruin from your deployment zone. So they just line up really nicely with not needing to advance and shoot. So that's kind of the go-to, I would say. Liberius Conclave, there is some rumorings. Shout out to Sean RBG in our Discord, pushing the notion that there's a good build with Deathwatch playing Bastion and Liberius Conclave with a whole lot of Librarian Battle Lion Kill Team guys. So I need to try it out because I told him I was going to play it. So I'm going to check for his latest edition of his list and play it this weekend probably.
That sounds very cool.
That sounds like what I should play tomorrow, actually. Nice. I had most of the models. And then we've got... Yeah, Bastion is for Black Templars. You know, Blades of Ultramar and the Gladius are both really good, of course. They play priority assets, which just fits really well. Ceramite Sentinels has been good. Some people are liking Ceramite Sentinels. I would say most people are landing on enjoying Blades over Ceramite. Ceramite gives you reroll 1s to hit and wound if you're in a terrain feature.
Nice. So
that's quite nice. It has a reactive shoot when you get shot. Move when you get shot, sorry. And that's kind of all, you know, Shadowmark Talon I've seen go down a lot in popularity after the new points and abilities have come out that errated their -2 to hit everywhere, which is good because it's toxic. And Ironstorm Spearhead, in my testing, I felt like I'd just rather play a normal Gladius that has the doctrines. So, yeah, interesting.
Where does that put Marines overall, Dave, in the meta? What do you feel?
In a singles tournament, I think Marines are a top tier army, for sure.
Nice.
Mainly because I talk about this in the course as I talk about the meta going forward in the edition. I think a lot of armies are going to go Purge the Foe, they're going to go big bricks that can do big damage, and they're either going to be doing that or like a take and hold style. And, you know, you mentioned with the T-Suns, like, you know, you like Purge the Foe, playing some larger bricks, harder to kill units, and I think Blades of Ultramar lines up really well with Ultramarines there. You know, Gilliman gives you the double oath as well, so being able to have a huge thunderous output is key, I think, in the early parts of this edition, where people have probably not figured out all the tech pieces and how to play the flow with more nuanced units. They're just kind of going down the middle.
Nice. I love it.
And that's Space Marines. A whole lot of small whatever. I'm surprised they didn't go up more than Guard went up, considering they're a much better faction. Cool.
Yeah, so they basically ended up at a similar level to before in terms of points, but because of the meta, I think they come out on top, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think some lists even went down to some degree, depending if you shuffle out some stuff to take something different. So, yeah. Okay. And the land speed is legitimately big buff. Like, that's legitimately good.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, Drukhari.
Okay, Dave. I'm actually pretty hyped about this one. These are the elves that I really like at the moment, and it's a very different playstyle to the T-Suns. Now, I mentioned with Eldar that I wasn't sure about doing reconnaissance with them, and what I would say is that Drukhari, I'm very confident doing recon with them. Nice. Sky Splinter Assault coming out as a 2 DP detachment means you can attach a 1 DP detachment onto it. And Sky
which
Splinter
one is
Assault,
Sky Splinter?
It's the one where you come out of a transport, you gain Lance. And it has a whole load of really good strategies, like a get back into a transport one where you can kind of advance the transport and then get out, move the transport and then get out afterwards.
Nice.
So it's really good in this edition for how weird transports are, where you don't want to stage them too aggressively. You can play them a little bit further back and get loads of tricks out with them. We've also had Lady Malice since the last Codex, who I think is great. The Vectora playing out of a Venom, jumping back into it. These are really strong combinations that you can do. You obviously mentioned in our last video about the Scourges being able to stack like Plunging Fire and still get their Fire and Fade back into place and still use Heavy because it's now up to 3 inches of movement. So you can do some cool combos with that. I think in terms of the output and the tech pieces, it's good. But the thing which really shines is the fact that you can have an outrageous number of units in your army. And Recon, you can basically create the most straightforward kind of brain-dead playstyle where you just score your secondary, score your primary, and you only have counterpunch for when your opponent tries to engage you and play the game. And I think that playstyle is so good for consistent singles if you are able to get enough damage into your list to deal with pressure from things like Purge the Foe armies, which are just trying to cripple you when you're hiding behind a wall. And I think you can get the damage in here, Dave.
Yeah. How would this line up against your Thousand Suns in a match, you think, though?
Okay, so for example, let's say that we have all these Sekitar robots here.
Okay.
If you have these Sekitar robots, you will need a big brick which can clear the Sekitar robots and jump back into their transport. Now, this could be, I don't think the 10 witches will do it. Maybe something like 10 incubi could do it and jump back into a transport. You could trade 10 hellions for them, but probably you'll need some form of ignore overwatch here. So really, you're only looking at something like a big incubi brick, going in with ignore overwatch on an enhancement, killing the Sekitar robots and jumping back into the transport, which is a free trade. And then you're staged in behind a piece of terrain. Your opponent probably can't engage properly afterwards. If you don't have that particular resource, then all you do is just throw 2 units on, out OC the Sekitar robots, score your missions around them, let them walk around their 8 inches, who cares? Even if you lose your whole army, you're still getting close to, 90 points.
Yeah. Nice. Interesting. I think that you would crush Drukhari with your Thousand Suns. I
think I need to test that.
Yeah.
Because
I think you would have your Forge
right.
Fiend and you'd be like, you know what, mate? Here's my Forge Fiend. You're staging behind the middle ruin. I'm going to drive it, Temporal Surge it. Now my Forge Fiend is like shooting all your dudes and ha ha ha. And then they still have to kill it. And you're like, hey. So you have your 10 Terminators and you're like, hey.
The weakness of the Drukhari army is an army that pushes inside them and starts shooting outwards at everything around them. And you're absolutely right. T-Suns can do exactly that. I would say that is one of the worst kind of matchups that you could get lined up into. But it's also not impossible. It just requires you to have the patience to be a little bit further back than you think you need to be to prevent that from happening. Because realistically, from your deployment zone, you can score most of your points. The Reavers move 24 inches and still do an action. So
that's true. That's good. And ignore Overwatch, probably. Yeah. That's nice. So I was going to say, I haven't heard a lot of positive things about Drukhari. So I'm curious to see where they land, because a lot of faction experts also play Drukhari because they've never really gone through this kind of sunrise of being too powerful, apart from ages ago. So we haven't seen a lot of newer players come into the faction, I think. So you are just going to be playing with a lot of people that love Drukhari, so only play Drukhari. So I'm interested to see how they pan out, given that probably a very experienced player base will continue to use them.
Agreed. Yeah, I think they'll also get quite a lot. Like, if you imagine Skari, for example, his playstyle is very specific. It is heavily focused on point scoring. And he's had huge success in over multiple editions just because of that playstyle. This is the perfect edition and archetype for him to play reconnaissance off of. So I'm interested to see how he does, but I can see the playstyle working quite well here, Dave. I think you just need the overall macro strategy just to be intelligently put together at the start of the game on your tough matchups. And I think these points have been very kind, personally.
Yeah. Well, they basically look like they come out even, I presume, right?
They come out even. They haven't really taken any significant points increases. The lists stay exactly the same. You actually end up, you get a cool tech piece in the Homunculus here who gives a -1 to battle shock tests and also gives you a 4+ to gain a pain token at 50 points for a little infantry model.
That's good.
That's really nice at -10. So
Nice.
I'm a big fan. Talos went down for some reason despite having a very good Talos and Kronos detachment here at 1 DP. And that is the other archetype, which I think is very interesting. If people would to build into lots of Talos and Kronos, because that detachment actually has some really good rules, good defensive mechanisms. So I'll be interested to see the two archetypes here, the heavy scoring or the really chunky list get played here.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm interested to see where Drukhari land. I think it'll be interesting to see how many players are on it, I think. Given the total amount of players playing, how many total players are sticking with it. Especially, it'd be interesting to see what the player numbers are for the factions compared to what they were at the end of 10th edition, how much that's changed. Because that's cool, right? Because assuming the same general amount, whatever, you got 1,000 players last week, 1,000 players this week, it's cool to see what distribution of factions people are playing, what the biggest winners and losers. I think there's going to be a lot less CFSM players.
Possibly, yeah. I think there'll be a lot less Eldar players as well, which might be a little sad here.
It's probably the same amount of guard players.
Maybe the core base.
Yeah. Tread on, brothers. Shout out to Heavy Bolter Joe. Next, so are you more excited to play Drukhari or T-Sons, man?
Okay, so there are a few things here to note with Vik. I do not like playing lots of vehicles, so that's not a problem here. I also tend to avoid playing these really chunky, unkillable bricks, like my whole army to built around it. Mm-hmm. So one of the T-Sons builds is not something which I really like. But both the Drukhari build with all of these cool characters, really good counterpunch, and just 1 million little infantry units. I love using little infantry units. That's been my playstyle forever. I'm really excited to do that. But the T-Sons list as well, that also is something I'm so excited to use because it's just very different to build around the Sekatar robots. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited for both of them, man. I'm gonna test them out into a variety of matchups. I think playing them against each other, I probably favor the T-Sons, but in a wider meta, I don't think it's so obvious that the T-Sons are better than the Drukhari in a singles tournament.
Sure. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, you said you liked really cool characters and playing those. What about the Rogal Dawn Tank Commander?
Oh, no.
You can make a Hellhammer character. Okay.
But no, look at this. With Drukhari, I'm going to be playing all these named characters. With T-Sons,
wow.
Pretty much, you take Lady Malice, Drazar, you can take Lilith.
Nice. I was going to say, what about a really strong faction that plays way more cool characters than that? Would you be interested?
Okay, I'm in.
Oh, I'll take you to the next slide, my friend.
Oh, no.
Because this shit did not go down.
Oh, no. This hurts me, Dave. I'm going to be honest. This really hurts me. Because there has to be a point where they don't get favorable treatment, right? Like, at what point does this become just ridiculous?
You know what? So in our Vassal League, when we got to the finals, so the first 3 rounds I played this Necron Awakened Dynasty list that I made up was Wraiths, and people were like, "Man, Wraiths are shit," and I was like, "No, it plays like this," and I smashed so many people. And then towards the end of the league, one of our players wanted to change up, so he was like, "Oh, I want to play that Necron list you made, David," and I was like, "Okay, sure, you can take it. I'll play guard. It's fine." And he was like, "Mate, this list is cracked." And then I gave it to Chris Radford to play at Home Nations, and he was like, "Mate, this list is cracked." So and I was like, yeah, it's a good list, mate. Yeah, good. And so my first thought going into 11th edition was like, well, I don't know, this Necron list seems pretty good. It's taken hold, and that's basically what I was doing with it anyway. So, needless to say, this was, I think if you're a WTC team, you probably insta-lock Necrons. I think there's so many good builds on them. They are really, really good. They only got buffed by the mission pack, so they're really good. And the Awakened Dynasty list that I was playing went up 15 big points, brother. So
nice.
You can, you always run 3 pieces of chaff, so you just reduce one of your chaff pieces from like a 55-point unit to a 40-point unit. It doesn't have OC, but it just screens your backfield as much as it can anyway. So this list is extremely strong. Necrons are really, really good in general. Like, some of the big changes, Catan being able to heroic, and normally you would think, okay, Catan heroicing 6 inches, that's okay. No. Because when you enter charge within 12, Catan are heroic. So sometimes you heroic like 9 inches, right? So do you know how bad it feels when you let a Catan heroic 9 inches across the map onto an objective? Like, the game's pretty much over at that point. It's like, oh, here's my OC4 unit, teleported, now it's striking you. Oh, I didn't kill you? Okay, well, I'm still going to shoot something else out of combat. I'm on the midfield objective, going to kill you next turn. It's really tough. This faction is just, I don't know, man. So, the points, the Deceiver went up 20, the Nightbringer went up 20, the Void Dragon went up 15. Normally that would be fine, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But why the fuck did the Reanimator go down 5? Like, by the way, this thing was already played all over the place. Like, okay. What about the unit that was used in every single list? Necros or Amnatar? Why did that go down 10 points? Like, I mean, I know it lost its fights first, like, being as good, and so did Jane's ours. They went down on points, but I mean, come on, bro. Like, you can't like, just, you can't give points drops to the, like, one of the best armies in the game, you know? Maybe just don't give them points drops and, like,
Dave,
wait for a little bit.
This has been every single update. They do, oh, this nerf is good. Why are there so many compensatory buffs?
Yeah, there's always compensatory buffs.
Always compensatory buffs. I will tell you the thing that frustrates me. Because, to me, it seems obvious if you look at the edition and you look at the missions, the core rules and everything. Necrons are going to be better for this rule pack than Eldar.
Yeah.
But if you only use 2 of your brain cells, you'll be like, oh, Eldar will be really good at missions because they're fast. And I think that is the underlying cause of, at least one of the causes, outside of some kind of bias here, for Eldar to get treated so badly compared to Necrons. And I'm being a little salty now. But
no,
Necrons,
you salt on, brother.
Okay, let's forget about Eldar. Let's not get Eldar involved in this conversation. Let's pretend they're not in my mind. Necrons alone. This is the 5th update, I think, where they've had compensatory buffs. And this one is the one that annoys me the most.
Well, okay. Flayed ones went down 5. I was already playing those, so, I mean, that just offsets some of my change. For some reason, the Ghost Arc went down 15. Like, this was already played in Star Shadow, so it was like a good mid-piece that you played in Star Shadow, so I don't know why that went down. Tomb Blades went down 5 and 10. Okay, that seems like, okay, I can kind of get that. Like, they haven't been amazing. But a Tomb Blade detachment got printed. That's like quite good for Tomb Blades. Praetorians went down 10. Okay, like, I can kind of like get that right.
That's cool.
I think I would have probably put Lich Guard down because they have been terrible. And 6-inch moving guys are not great this edition, especially just infantry guys. So I would have done that. So the one weird part is that, like, Locusts went down like quite a lot. For example, I think they went down like 20 for the 6-man squad. And by the way, there's already a very good Locust Destroyer build. Like, legitimately is a top build. And they just went down in points. It plays Curse Legion and the Tomb Blade detachment. You can get a bunch of Locusts. Locusts, by the way, have the ability that they reroll to hit when you're on the objective, Vik. Which you would think, given the style of the edition, would be something that you would be paying a premium for. Mm-hmm. However, not in the land of Necrosaur.
I mean, you could tow in now as well. It's a lot easier to shoot.
Yeah. And by the way, Mounted got buffed because it's easier to move around the board. Like,
because they
way
fly
easier
as well, don't they?
I don't know if they. I don't even know if they fly, but it doesn't matter because you just drive around the board with them anyway. Like, you know.
Wait, why do Mounted? Is that because why do Mounted get? Is it? Do they got a different rule? Have I missed that?
As in, sorry, when I say fly, I mean like you don't actually fly, but because there's much less terrain on the board, you just move through terrain way easier. Like, it's way easier. You know, think about, like, you know, you're playing UKTC where there's all these giant hard L walls everywhere, right? The old pack, you know, compared to, like, then mounted units sucked, right? But you know, on this board, it's just like there's only one, you know, big piece on either side you got to avoid, right? That's fine.
I'm pretty sure Locusts do fly anyway, so they can't just take to the skies as well, which is...
oh, yeah, okay, cool. I wasn't even using that, so
floating.
That's a nice buff. Thanks. So, it's a bit puzzling. And they play Take and Hold, so that their best build lines up perfectly with Take and Hold. And can you imagine how frustrating it is when you're playing against Necrons, and you like... Your 2-point every turn is like try and kill a unit. Like you just don't score that. Okay. Oh, there's a huge buff, by the way. I don't know if you know this, but because you join characters at the start of the roster building, which, for the record, I think is a terrible change to the game. I don't like that at all. I would rather have the ability to, like, does my marshal want to join this unit or that unit? Do I want to join these 2 units? I don't like that personally. Anyway, I felt that was an unnecessary change. But anyway, because now you actually form the units at the list construction phase, a Technomancer and Wraith is no longer a Technomancer and Wraith unit. It's a Wraith Techno. It's a Techno Wraith unit.
Okay.
So if they precision out your Technomancer and you've got 6 Wraiths, you reanimate the Technomancer because that is a missing model. Yes.
Oh, so, no.
Listen to this, though. Let's say you're playing Awakened Dynasty. I don't know if this is going to FAQ or errata, but in the app this currently works. They kill your whole Wraith unit, right? In the shooting activation. They get the Defiler out there. They're like, bop, 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 bop. And you're like, damn, bro, you killed me. You can reanimate the Technomancer with the strat. And then because you're a Techno Wraith unit, you can then...
No! No, please. Stop.
Yeah. They also got, like... Their army also got -1 to hit everywhere, so... Like, that is a huge buff, you know, to Catan. Like, oh, you're trying to shoot my Catan? Well, it's also -1 to hit now. So,
I mean, don't they have very easy psychic protection as well?
they have Necrons or Amnatar, which gives you a 5-up Feel No Pain against Psychic and a 6-inch Aura, yeah. Who also gives you Sustained and a 6-inch Aura. So, yes, he is on your army. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
that's great for the meta.
I don't get it. I was going to play this at I would legitimately just play my Vasler League build at WTC if I hadn't already passed it off to someone on my team. Like, and I'm not like spoiling anything here, I don't think. Like, tons of people know about this build. This build's so strong, and there's so many ways to cook with Necrons. Like, I even think Canoptic Court is still probably really good. Star Shatter's really good. Hypercrypt is even playable. Like, yeah, this...
What's the point, Dave, where I just, like, give up and I just say that Necrons are the coolest army in the game? And, you know, sometimes you shouldn't fight the trend. You should go with the trend. Go with the wave.
Look, let's see this. I play the Deceiver, Void Dragon, Necrozor Amnatar, Scorpig Lord with a 4-up Feel No Pain, Illuminor Xeris with a 4-up Feel No Pain, and I play the Silent King. So you got 6 big baller characters right there, mate. I mean, they're all named characters.
They're cool.
They all ball. They all have 4-up of some kind. So they either have a 4-up Invuln or a 4-up Feel No Pain. Just 4-up, mate. Yeah. It's yeah. It can...
Okay, one last salty point, which is...
Yeah, salt on.
I understand Marines, right? I think it's something they've missed for a long time, and I understand making Marines really good, because they should have been doing that anyway.
Yeah, sure.
Like, give them slightly preferential treatment so they continue to stay as an army that is relevant in the meta. Fine. Why Necrons? What is special about this army compared to any other army for them to get special treatment every single time? And Tau, for example. Tau have not always had special treatment. They've, in the last little bit, they've had a little bit of preferential treatment, particularly this particular update. But Necrons, it's been going on for years now, and it's getting a little frustrating.
A little out of hand, yeah. I mean, they've been good for a long time. The entire edition, they were good last edition. Entire edition. So, yeah, it's strange. Speaking of Tau, that is a very confusing update. Because Tau got increases on some units. I don't know who the playtester is, or who the playtesters are, that come up with the increases and decreases for Tau. Because that makes no sense whatsoever. For example, actually, you know what? Here we go. I did a little spreadsheet.
So what increases are you looking at on this?
There are some, but they are so easily dodged and side graded that that's kind of a joke, I think.
Sure.
In fact, my teammate's build that he was playing still uses most of these units. Okay, so here we are. I don't know if you can see the spreadsheet. I'm going to move my camera for a bit.
On your spreadsheet is literally just the Twin Lance here.
Can you see the one that I'm sharing right now?
Yeah.
Oh, for the increase? Oh, yeah.
For the increase, mate. The Twin Lance is the only relevant increase.
There are some. It comes in the Wargear stuff. But so broadsides went down, and the missile sides went down. I don't know if you're aware, but the missile sides were an extremely good unit that was played previously. They had like 40 shots, something like that. Okay, they went down. Crisis Fire Knife Battlesuits, down 20 points for 3. 130 to 110. That's like, I don't know, like an 8% decrease?
But they've got to pay for the missile pods on both of those units, right?
Yes. But, I mean, it's still a decrease overall, and you don't always need to play the 3, right? So this went down from 120 to 110, right?
Yeah, they're already pushed.
Tau Flamers, these guys ended up going down overall, right? Even if you include this. These guys here, the Ghost Kills went down, but they went up on the Cyclic, so you don't play Ghost Kills anyway. No one plays that trash anymore. And then, like, Kroot, for some reason, went down.
Ooh,
you know what I don't get is...
That's interesting.
Why did Cadian go up, but Kroot went down? That's strange.
That's the big unit. That is the 20.
That's
the
10
is
sure.
65 for no change. Just
yeah,
kind.
okay, but like, why would Cadian go down? Why did the Hammerhead gunship go down? Like, this unit got buffed, so that's kind of surprising. In every way, this unit is better this edition than last edition, so I don't really get that. It's a good unit. Kroot Hounds went down for the 10-man. Okay, not really relevant. The Kroot Shaper went down. I mean, maybe he got nerfed, but he was played in every single list previously. and the Pathfinder team went down.
This one, there's no need for that. I mean, I understand they're up 10 with the 4 iron rifles.
Sure.
But why do you need this bit as well? Why do you need
could just play the railgun now, the rail whatever it is. But also their strength isn't, well, they were so pushed last edition because they could infiltrate and scout that their strength was also damage because they could guide for themselves. But even just a 10-man infiltrating unit. So let me just put this into perspective. 10 Cadians cost 75 points, are not as durable, have nowhere near as good shooting, and don't infiltrate. Really? Like, you know, okay. I would rather play some Pathfinders. I think everyone would. Riptides actually ended up saying the same.
Mate, this is the one that gets me. Because look at Riptides here. The fly rule is better. They can ignore modifiers base. They're already pushed on their points. Yeah. Why have they not seen a points increase here?
Yeah. They also got a lot better because they're a typical 2-up, 4-up. Like a 2-up save, 4-up invuln, which in my opinion gets a lot better when it's -1 to hit. So, yeah, I mean, kind of buffs all around there.
This should have been, like, in the whole document here, that should have been a sharp increase in points, I think, personally.
Yeah. Like, I think the lists, by the way, so people are playing lists, and I've played against this Tau twice already, and people still play Triptide. They play Triptide, a boatload of suits, or you can play all suits, you can play suits with hammerheads, like, it's a complete mess up in my opinion. I mean, they do get so much stuff, it's kind of crazy, and it's not like they get stuff only in terms of, they only get, for example, like, all good tanks, right? It's not that. They get a range of good units across everything that's relevant, right? They get good move blocking, they get infiltrate units, they get fast units, they get uppy downy units, they get deep strike units. Like, why would you play Imperial, like I think you said at the beginning, like, why would you now play Imperial Guard when you could play Tau, and you could be fast and shoot people, and uppy downy and fire and fade? Like all of those abilities are way more relevant than what Guard has nowadays. So I don't really understand why there are huge, like, compensatory buffs, but also build opening buffs for Tau and the other Imperium Premier Shooting Army. There wasn't any, so
I would say that the Eldar and Guard changes in isolation is like, okay, fine, you know, we're going into a new edition. All right, little tweaks here and there. I think the Necron and particularly the Tau balance approach is super incorrect. Like, it is done really badly. Like, there is no logical excuse for the balance approach to be so divergent between these two and so favored towards Necrons and Tau. That's the biggest miss, I think, these two factions.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe GW's expanding into Asia and they want to sell some cool anime-style battle suits.
Necrons are pretty cool looking as well, to be fair.
They are cool. I got a fucking boatload of them up there, bro. I'll take those out tomorrow and take my Canoptic Court for a spin.
Nice.
Have fun, whoever I'm playing against.
At least you can have fun.
Yeah, guess what? It's taken hold.
Oh, no.
Oh, you're playing Purge? Come at me, bro. Yeah. So it's, you know, I think, all in all, I think the changes, yeah, there's always stuff to complain about. I'm actually surprised that they were this impactful. You know what is interesting? I think Games Workshop, they would have done a lot better if they had just shipped these changes 2 months ago and seen the data coming out of 10th edition and then having another adjustment period. Because they clearly opted not to do that. And I think that's a little bit of a mistake in the long run here. But, well, you know, I like playing Necrons, so, you know, kind of happy with the changes there. But
here's what I think should have been done, because it's obvious that there are different groups of people looking at the different factions here and doing the balance updates. And it may even be people not playing the factions overlapping across other factions. For these kinds of wide-scale things, I think it would be better to have just a flat approach. If you have fights first, you go down a little bit in points. Necrotor Amantar catches that as well. Fine. But you avoid a lot of other things if you have a systematic approach. If you have something that can fly, ignores modifiers, it should not be ending at the same points value as it is at the moment, right?
That is a head scratcher, that one. Like, oh, 3 Riptides again. Yay, I'm familiar with this unit.
I wanted
Every
to
single opponent ever.
just quickly touch on sisters, because I know a lot of people like the
They got
sisters
done harsh,
content.
man.
So the Sacrosanct and the Hospitality took big points increases here, but outside of that, actually, it's not too bad. I mean, it's not the kindest balance update, but it's not the end of the world. If you look outside those, the 2 big things people are looking at is they're looking at combining Army of Fate, which is got a really good stratagem for a flat -1 to hit in an aura. It also has a stratagem to increase your AP by 1, which is very, very powerful, and ignore modifiers. These are all powerful things in 11th edition. And you can combine that with the Sacrosanct detachment if you wanted to, but you could also go for Sanctified Orators. So if you go for the Sacrosanct detachment, both of your dispositions are going to be taken hold. Perfectly fine. The Sacrosanct bricks are very expensive, though. I'm not entirely sure if that's correct. With Sanctified Orators, which is a pretty useless detachment, you don't get much out of it, but you get Purge the Foe, which means that you can play Purge the Foe, and actually, with a small number of units taking a big combos of buffs, this army is not bad at all. So I'm interested to experiment a little bit with sisters, but I've got a little bit too much on my plate to do 4th faction here. But yeah, I'm keeping an eye on the Army of Fate and doing Purge the Foe with them.
I am confused as to why the Immolator and Castigator even went up. Like, after playing the edition, they have to get within 15 inches to shoot you, and Bringers of Flame really doesn't want to do that. So, having to use an Immolator to ignore cover on a unit that's you have to get within 15 inches of to then shoot your Castigator, I don't think felt good for anyone playing that. So, I don't actually think that's a good change.
You know what? I'm going to say this because the Immolator does give you ignore cover. I would say it's actually correct. The points increases. The Castigator gives you an additional point of AP. The Immolator gives you ignore cover. Sure. I think in this edition, I think that's fair for those to go up in points if you were to follow a more mechanical way of doing it. But it just feels very bad to talk about that after we've just looked at Tau and Necrons.
Yes. That's where it doesn't kind of make as much sense. Yeah. Interesting. I mean, there's obviously a couple of other changes, like Knights went up, which I think was good. I don't know if they went up enough, because they're pretty strong. So I would expect them to be very popular going into the new edition, I think. And I think they were a bit harsher on Grey Knights as well. Grey Knights did go up quite a lot.
Oh, okay.
And I think some of the lists went up like 140 points.
Oh, damn.
So that's a little bit of a shame that they didn't let that army have its day in the sunlight.
Okay. You know what they've done here? They've been too kind to Thousand Suns, I think. Yeah. Because I think Grey Knights have suffered from being psychic and getting psychic weapons and the buffs associated with them. I mean, the Psycams are great now. And T-Suns technically got all the same buffs as well, and they've been let off very lightly. So that's, again, a disparity where the army which should have probably taken a little bit of a nerf, and the army which should have taken just like stayed the same level, it kind of went the wrong way.
Yeah, and Black Templars, they hate Psychers. And so do Space Wolves, but they didn't get any buffs, mate.
Hey, Necrons are good against Psychers, so it's all good.
Yeah. I love them, mate. There we go, guys. Let us know what you're salty about. And check out 40kfireside.com, where we had the new 11th edition course. We'll be posting the unedited video of this, and you'll notice there's a lot more sodium in it. The AI takes out the sodium, but it's full salt mode now. There you go, guys. Catch you at the next one, and we'll probably give an update on I'll give an update on what I've been playing on the weekend. Actually, we're just gonna be playing some real life Canoptic Court.
Wow, fun. Beautiful.
Canoptic fun.
See you guys next time. Take care. Bye.